You can see the sun is setting behind me and I'm talking to you during the evening, which is fairly unusual. But there are three things I want to raise. It's been a pretty rotten week, one way and another. If you remember, we arranged for the white starving horse with a broken leg to come down from Kenitra, which is north of Casablanca. It was a hell of a journey for the poor horse. And I was very angry in the state it arrived. It went into a stable that night on plenty of straw. It had painkillers that night and the vet came the next day. And he took the decision that we shouldn't at the moment consider euthanization, because clearly the horse was so glad to be here and had the will to live. And I've already explained to you that we took a decision not to euthanize at that time. However, whilst most of you who follow me and know me were very supportive of that decision, even if you didn't altogether agree with it, you saw the merit in our arguments. But I started to get a raft of objections on Facebook, and they were from somewhere in Texas. One man told me that I clearly wasn't doing this for the benefit of the horse. If I cared about horses, I would put him down straight away. And I was clearly doing it just to raise money. I was outraged. And then others started to join in. Firstly, if we were doing it to raise money, that certainly wouldn't raise enough money for the care that that horse was going to need. And those of you who have been here, who've visited, who've seen our accounts, who watch me on Facebook, know that is not how we operate. Now, I dare say, out in Texas, and I check their profiles, they're all galloping around on beautiful horses, perhaps not working with horses in quite the way I would, but it's not for me to object. But clearly they know so much more than I do. Well, I think they should come to Morocco. This isn't Texas, it's Morocco. And to actually say, insinuate, I couldn't possibly believe that it was the right thing to do because it is a horse and I'm just prolonging their suffering. Well, I've got news for these people. We work with disabled equines all the time. They're not just horses or just donkeys or just mules. They have a personality. They interact with us. We always take the view if there is a will to live, we will do everything we can to help them. So I took the very harsh decision that I blocked those people, but I personally found it quite upsetting. We then, after that horse, I then posted about a mule. I'd been told about a mule. I told it was a young mule, perhaps a yearling, that someone was looking after the street in Salé, which is close to Rabat, which is a hell of a long way from here, I promise you. It's like driving from here to Scotland. I'm sorry, it's like driving from the south of England to Scotland. I was very suspicious when they first contacted me. My antennae were going up. And I said to start with, we just didn't have room. And then another lady, a really nice person, intervened from Agadir, who was very genuine, was willing to fund the transfer and wanted to work with these people. I have to say that I don't believe the mule as described ever existed. And I think the people were after money because what they wanted from me was to send them money to help. You have to trust my judgment. And I'm going to say something to you that's quite important now. We don't pay any money on administration. And if you look at our accounts in the UK, which is where all our money is, you'll see we pay a very small amount on leaflets, the odd cards, that sort of thing, but very little. We don't pay anyone to do our administration. I do the website myself. I do all the social media. I answer all the questions. I take all the phone calls during the night, and there are several. So I don't have a lot of sleep, and I'm quite knackered. So before people ask questions, please trust my judgment. I just don't have time to answer hundreds of questions. And it starts a debate going about the mule, or was somebody really looking after it. You have to trust our judgment. We're here on the ground. And all it's saying to me now is I'm not going to post in advance anymore. I'm really not. Because if something does go wrong, so many people out there don't understand. Now, the reason we do post, and I think those of you that know us well know this, I'm very reliant and very grateful to the people who supported us all through the pandemic, the people who will send a donation every month, whether it be £1, whether it be £5, whether it be more. You're all valued, you're all appreciated. And I think I have a duty to you to tell you what we're doing, why we're doing it, and where your money's going. But I'm now going to have to draw a line. I think I will only stop posting when the animal comes in. On that particular post, it led to another whereby a couple that I've known before, they're Moroccans, they found a donkey wandering at Mohammed Sis and they brought it in and we called it Charles. That's quite simple, straightforward. After the king, he's in a stable at the moment. But that generated someone from Casablanca sending what I thought were quite abusive emails, saying that they had contacted us before and we'd done nothing to help a poor donkey in Casablanca that had broken its leg. Now, they clearly hadn't communicated directly with me. They communicated with Ayoub at the start of the Eid. Oh, I'm sorry. The start of last month. And he had said that it was impossible for us to get to Casablanca. They'd obviously taken that the wrong way and thought that he was quite rude. And hence I was having a lot of posts on the site today where he'd actually taken photographs of phone calls with Ayoub and communications, and actually implying we were no better than anyone else. Even Georgia's only interested in making profit. Well, again, you can imagine I was outraged. And that conversation went on. I think there were 48 communications back and 2. Yes, it was the whole of Ramadan, not Eid. I do apologise. And you know how difficult it is here during Ramadan. And the donkey had been out all that time. I was so annoyed when the individual concerned that my instinct was to block him. But I was between a rock and a hard place. If I had blocked him and there really was a donkey in need, the donkey was the one that was going to suffer. So I made the offer there and then, and a couple of my boys spoke to him today that if he could arrange transport, we would pay for the transport once it came up here. There is a Moroccan I know who's in the UK at the moment who managed to collect, I think he collected £35 and he's just sent it over. Thank you very much. That will go towards the transport. But that has been sorted now. And I've just had a message from Mohammed to say it's on its way. It will be here in the middle of the night. So I suppose what I am saying to you is I will try and keep you all informed as best I possibly can. I'm not here in the public eye to answer every single question. I try to, but it's becoming impossible. So somebody asked earlier on the bottom of this post, where was Spanner? Well, I replied and I said, well, they did have a hospital in Casablanca. But, honestly, everyone could Google, they could find out. I'm just asking for a bit of a break. So the boys here have insisted that tomorrow and Monday, because we're getting ready for a lot of guests next week, we are not going to be doing any social media at all. We have got to have a break. And again, a huge thank you to everybody who will very often answer on my behalf. If they see a difficult post, they'll often answer themselves. And I hope that those of you that are faithful and loyal understand why we're going to take a break for a couple of days. But it has been a combination of the horse with the broken leg, who incidentally is doing very well, followed by the mule that didn't come to fruition, the donkey that arrived, on the back of that, the huge, lengthy discussion about the donkey in Casablanca that's coming up tonight. So whilst most of you, I guess, were watching the coronation, I was trying to watch a coronation, but I was constantly messaging back and to as well. So just have a little bit of sympathy with my fingers, and we will be back online on Tuesday, and I'll speak to you all then. Thank you.